Alright, so today's video is actually on this top sirloin butt. It's supposed to be a butt or called whole. So I went to Sam's Club and wanted my wife to pick this up. And this is what she got. Unbeknownst to her, they sold her pretty much what's left as half. So as I show you what's left of this meat, this is not the whole. It was labeled that way, charged that way. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still good, high quality beef. And you're going to notice there's not a lot of fat because some of it's been trimmed. If we had the actual whole here today, we would have, this is pretty much the top. We would have also the bottom, which is all the other steaks and whatever kind of meat, ground meat you want to get out of it. But here you can see this has been heavily trimmed. And the butcher, because I had her going, I bought 2 of these, told her this is what they sell. It comes pre-cut. It wasn't the cryovac, so it's not something Sam's Club does, but you can see, I'm just going to show you the lines here. They're not as fatty as when we did that chuck roll. So what you got here are more defined lines of solid meat. So if you want to cut it up rather than make steaks like you could have done with the chuck roll, you could do the same thing with this. You can just square it up and cut steaks out of it all the way down. But today I wanted to emphasize the fact that if you go to Sam's Club, maybe yours has it, mine just doesn't. But this is not the whole or the butt. This has literally been trimmed, and where you get the picanha, which is that beautiful steak everybody's into now on the top, and all that, it all seems to be missing. The picanha has like a thick skin on it, so I'm thinking this is actually the top, and all that's been trimmed, and they're selling it separately because they make more money that way. But this truly is being sold as a whole, and it is not. So be aware of that, guys. The 2 I got is just, this one's almost 6 pounds. And the other one's almost 8 pounds. It's 7 pounds something. So I can tell you they're supposed to be between 12 and 18 pounds. So you truly aren't getting the whole thing. So either way, it's still a good piece of meat, but I wanted to warn you guys up front about that. I got 2 here. I was going to just do one sacrificial piece first and then show you. But I decided to go ahead and just show you both cuts because it will help you and guide you to where you need to be on this. And make sure that when you're searching for it, if you just want to do this too, you can buy this all day long. Hopefully your Sam's Club does have it. But in all honesty, you need to go to the Costco Business Center. That's the way to go. And for us, the problem is it's like 2.5 hours away. So without further ado, let's get into this thing. Okay, so as I showed you, here's the line of the meat. If we flip it back over real quick, you can see it's not as distinct as the chuck roll with all the fatty lines. And you can see how heavily this has been trimmed. Okay, so you can see it's already been trimmed heavily. This should have a fatter, a lot more fat on top of here. A lot thicker. I was going to say fatter fat, but a lot thicker fat. But you can kind of see lines here too, and how we're going to separate this out. I guess considering the way this is and everything, this is pretty much your picanha right here. You can see it. So that's why I said this is the cap. The bottom part of this would be the whole with this on it. So they trimmed off the whole thing, which makes no sense because they're selling it online. They show the whole thing, which is double the height. So that's why we were confused, and I sent my wife back in to grab another one. They gave her a bigger one. The butcher says that's all we have. So it doesn't sound right. It's not right. They shouldn't be selling it as a whole when it's not. But the top sirloin price is the top sirloin price. It was like $10 and change, just under 11 bucks a pound, which when you consider this is high quality restaurant meat, that's not bad when you're charging way more for ribeyes these days. So this is another good alternative to that. So if I get into this right now, you can see there's also a line here. There's this line here that we started with, and then you can see right there the steak, a nice steak right there. So if I can go, if I want to start here, if I do that line, that's kind of following this. So this would separate out our picanha, and it looks like we might even have a little extra steak right here, or trimmings, whatever you want, ground beef. And that would take out what I consider the picanha at this point. So again, it's hard to tell when they cryovac it up and say it's what it is, and it's not. It's disappointing to say the least. So we're just gonna start scoring this, kind of making a line to follow. Okay. And you can see right here, there's the seam line. Now it's a little opposite on the back because the picanha is odd shaped. It's slid like this. So if we're going to consider that to be it, we're going to follow that same kind of curvature all the way down. And just keep following this line. Again, like the last video, I'm going slow for you guys, but you can see it here. See that arch? So if I just want to score this, okay, remember, always make sure your knives are sharp and cut away from you. Sometimes you can't help it, but do your best. Okay? You can see how razor sharp that is. You can see some fat lines in there. That's just all the actual marbling. We're going to keep following that line. And again, if you need to guide it, that's fine. Turn it over. Look at that. See how I scored that originally? Now you can start to see why. It's starting to follow this whole thing all the way around. So I could just really technically put my knife in here and go straight through. But for you guys today, showing you slowly. Just take your time. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay? Now at this point, again, you can see there's that line. So just continue on through. Keep your hands and fingers out of the way. Your knife's razor sharp for safety. Now, you can see I just start trimming that. Now you can do it, like I said, top, bottom, both ways like I'm doing it. I'm just showing you why I'm scoring and why I'm cutting and what I'm following. See? See that? Look at that. There's that fat, right? So we followed that piece. Now we got these two beautiful steaks here. You know, like I said, not having the whole thing in front of me to break down makes it a little bit more difficult. Usually at this point, you would trim off on the picanha being thick. You'd trim the heavy fat off the sides and edges. And then you would leave the thick part of the fat on top. When you cook it or smoke it, you want that there. So you can see they didn't leave us much. I'm not going to be trimming any of the fat today because there really is nothing left. It's not going to affect the meat at any point. And you can see how good that marbling was in the end of there. It's nice. So just consider the fact that, again, this is a higher cut of meat than that chuck roll we did. And we turn it over. And here we have all the other meat. I mean, really, you could just say, hey, you know, either way, you can either leave it like this, you can cut steaks out of this and be done with it, or we can further dismantle this meat and do that. And you can see there's another seam line here to follow this out through there. So being mindful of that, you can also see the nice grain right here, the gradation of grain going through the meat. This is going to be some nice tender steak. Okay, so I was studying the meat. I think what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cut this piece off, and then I'm going to square this up and just treat this like the picanha, even though it's loss of fat, and I'm going to trim all this up here. So what I'll do then next, and again, you can leave this whole and cut it into steaks. This is still kind of do what you want. Make big steaks, make petite steaks, leave it together and slice it. This is the first one, the smaller of the two. I still have one more to do, which I'll showcase that one for you as well. But right along here seems to be a seam, and you can see it go through there. So if I just kind of start working that right there, you can see started working that edge, and we're just gonna kind of work it down, make sure that's where we want to be. Okay. And just keep going away at it. You can see this is starting to produce a separate steak right here. So this is going to come away slowly. Okay, see that? So what I want to do is I'm just going to eyeball this a little bit. Okay. Again, doesn't have to be perfect, but there we go. Okay, we'll chop this up. This can go right in the grinder, make some beautiful lean, ground beef, and then you can add in that fat that we got from the chuck roll. Make some nice 80-20 whatever with it, because this is really lean Or if you're on a diet and you want it this lean, you can make it this lean too. So this will set aside right here for now, and then we got this left here. Okay. So what I want to do with this, I think that we're pretty much set with it. You don't want to leave this thick, so you can either, one of the things I would do, either butterfly this down the middle and lay it out, and then you have two nice larger steaks, or you can square this up on each end, add this to the ground beef pile, and make steaks out of it. So that's what we're gonna do, and then we'll trim up this bigger piece over here. So just setting that aside, and get out Big Bertha, and we'll trim off about that much. Look at that, nice and sharp. Remember I told you, try to use the back of your knife, but some pieces are thick and wide, and you got to use the middle to the front. But if you can use the back, yes, I was using the front, or kind of the middle front, but still. Okay, so that will chop up and make it nice. And we can see it's got this nice little steak here. You almost just cut that like that and leave it. We can also still butterfly this and just make it two steaks. So I think in my case, because that's so thick, we can either do that, like I said, or do this and just make some little steaks. So I can get probably 1, 2, 3, probably 4 steaks out of it that way. Okay, so I wanted to inspect it for a minute. I can get 2 nice steaks out of it, and I can get also 4 little petite steaks, which are good on the go because I like the red meat, gives me some energy that I don't have anymore. So for me, it's probably better to go that route. And if you look at this, you could also go this way because it's got 2 sides to it, really. We just made that side and cut it. Push down on a little bit, make it the shape you want. Take a look at it and see what you're going to do with it. And we could also go this way. The biggest thing to look at if we want to learn something, here's the grain running this way. You want to cut across the grain. So if we went this way, we'd be cutting with the grain, but you can also cut across it once it's cut. All cooked up, and that'll also give you a nice tender steak. Just FYI, always cut against the grain. So now that we know the direction of the grain, we do have options still either way. Do what you want, but this is going to give you the idea that, and make the point that we're cutting across the grain now to make sure that that steak is properly cut, and then when it cooks, it'll be tender or after the fact. So. And again, you can see as it's warming up, it's getting a little gelatinous. And we'll just do like that. And we got little petite steaks. They're quick, easy. Okay, and that little one, really it's like 3.5. But that last one was a little thick, you can see there. And you can see look at the grain in that. It's incredible, okay? So there you go. There's those. And set that aside. Gonna put those aside. Then we got all of our trimmings here. We're gonna make in the beautiful ground beef, or just chunks right now for anything. Remember, this steak is tender. You can see, look how tender, look at the lines in that. So we're just gonna cut this off. There is some fat underneath there, and also a line to follow. And again, you can leave that on if you want. It really comes down to preference. But you can see now, you can tell that was from when they trimmed this. The butcher got their knife in there because it's too straight. But I think that's a beautiful looking steak as it is. If you want to go further with it, you can. See right there? You can cut this off and square it up real nice. So when you present it, like I said, if you're gonna have in the last video, guests over or whatever, you can just make it nice. I'll just kind of trim that up a little bit. Just doing this for you guys so you can see what you can do with it. Not that it matters if it's just, a couple people in your house, just you and the wife, whatever. You can do whatever you want with it. So just to make it look pretty. So what we'll do with this, I mean, this is, again, you can make steaks out of this right now. Keep cutting it down like the smaller ones I just made, or leave it whole. You could also butterfly this and get, you know, 2 large steaks out of it. Or you can leave this as your mock piece of meat and use it as either your stew. You can make it in the stir fry, the whole thing, do whatever you want. But you can make this your mock picanha, was what I was trying to think of. So at this point, this will probably stay whole for me. This will go on the smoker until it's super tender, and you know, with my homemade seasoning on it, and this will be a perfect steak, and that's what I want it for. So that one will be done. Again though, you want to chop it all up, do what you want with it, okay? But you can also use this stuff for stir fry. Since we got the cap, a lot of this meat is actually high end compared to the bottom. Even though, again, it was so it's whole, it's really not. 1-inch squares, whatever you want to do. Alright, so we got these 1.5 inch chunks. That's what we're going to do with ours right now. Set it aside. And again, if you'd like, you can cut those up, leave it all together, and cut them up into big steaks. Your choice. These work good too. You just throw them into the grinder, or you can do it whole. So we'll weigh this out in the end like we have before, but there you go. So we got that. Put that aside. We got our mock picanha. We're just calling it mock because we truly don't know since somebody already trimmed it all up, which is disappointing. And then we got our 4 steaks. Okay? 4 little petite steaks out of there. Great for breakfast, whatever, lunch, whatever you want, you know. But there we go. That's out of the smaller one. This is around 6 pounds. Not exact, but around. I'll add the pictures in the end with the labels. And you'll see what I mean and what to look for. Because again, this should have been 12 to 18 pounds worth of meat. So she bought 2, so we got basically that much out of it. But again, there's 2 separate sections of meat that definitely has a pull line like the chuck roll does, and this definitely does not have a clear pull line, so that whole bottom piece is missing. But again, for the price, this was just under 60 bucks for top sirloin, and you get all this meat out of it. It's a pretty good deal. So that's number 1, and we'll be doing number 2 next. Okay, so this is the other one I checked. This is almost 7 pounds, because you guys are going to do the math and say, hey, that's not almost 8 pounds. So we're just going to call it 7 pounds, the other one was 6. The other one was just under 60. This one was just over $72. So you can see it has the same points on it. This whole bottom piece is missing. You can see where it's been cut, and they trimmed the hell out of the top, which if I'm going to do a picanha, I'd rather have that thicker skin on top, and then that, you know, the majority of that just gets cut to the side, trimmed away after cooking. It just adds flavor to the meat, having it there, so when it smokes or you're roasting it, whatever you're going to do with it, it adds flavor to the profile. Now, there's been a big argument in all my meat groups all the time on brisket and everything else, whether it's fat cap up or down. I always do fat cap up, and I don't ever wrap either. So that's something I do, and you know what? The meat comes out perfect every time. I've had many people in the comments back me up on that, as far as like professional restaurateur smoking chefs. They said it. They tell me exactly right. You don't need the wrap. You don't need the fat cap up. Not down, no wrap. Don't make it complicated. The one thing I do offer, and I know this is off the subject of this meat, with my brisket, is I wrap it after it's done, because you need a 2-hour minimum rest. 2 cups of beef broth in with that. Wrap it in foil, wrap it in a towel or a blanket, and then put it in a good quality, high quality, or old school like the Coleman green ice chest that we use, and put it in there. And we let it rest for a lot longer than 2 hours, but it comes out super juicy and tender. So that's the way to do it. So with this too, don't wrap it. There's not much fat left, but what will be if you throw this on the smoker or the barbecue. Fat up, okay? Fat up. You don't want all that to drip down in the barbecue and lose it, and also potentially start a fire, at least a flame up. So this one here, like I said, we're gonna probably just cut along this seam, and then we're just gonna cut in the steaks. We'll see how it goes as I disassemble it, discombobulate it, whatever you want to say. But here you can see on this larger one, the lines right here on that meat. So that's a separating point, same as the other one. So if I just get going into this right here, and I kind of just follow that line, okay, you can see, and this meat looks really good in there. You see the lines, all that striation, all that grain. It's beautiful. You can see it through this whole piece. So this is actually a really nice cut of meat. Again, it's just a bummer that I don't have the rest to take apart, but I will be making another video with a whole one, and that way I can show you guys how to break that down. But in the meantime, if you have a cravings for top sirloin and you want to just have some fun with some meat, this is a good one. You go to Sam's Club, maybe they have the whole one. I hope they do for you, but for us we don't. So we're gonna cut this, I think, right here. Now you notice I'm going a little faster, only because I showed you once already, and there's no need to prolong it and jibber jabber for the whole time. So right here you got some hard fat, as you can see. So use the back of that blade to cut through that. It's really thick right there. You notice I'm not doing a lot of flipping either. You don't have to. Look, see that? It's good. It ain't perfect, but it's good. Good enough. So you can see that. Look at that. It's high quality meat. You got a fat line here. You could, technically pull this bottom piece off. You can see there where it's a little bit. You can see a little chunk extra meat there. So we can actually pull this off, and you can see how it runs around here. And just to clean this up, trim that meat up. This one here, we're inspecting it. You got a little bit there you can trim off, or in this case, just leave them both like that and cut them in the steaks. So I think that's what we're gonna do with this one. I could do another mock one, but I kind of feel like we have one. We'll try it and we'll see how it goes, not knowing what all is here and what's trimmed. If that is the actual picanha, I will be very disappointed that they took all the fat off the top, which is what it looks like. So for this, we're gonna make us a bunch of good steaks out of these. So we got to trim these up, set this aside, and we're just gonna leave these whole. Yeah. Okay, so you can see how it's kind of oblong here. Your steak oblong, it goes in your mouth, you chew it up, don't matter, right? Okay. We do the knife test. Like I say, pat with your hand and a knife. It straightens up pretty good. So you could trim that off, but you don't have to. But what we're definitely going to do is we're definitely going to take this arch out of here, and we're going to square this up. Okay. Now you're going, oh, why? That's a thick cut of meat. Yeah, it is. But it's oblong. Look at that. What is that good for? Not much. So we'll add that to the stir fry pile. I'm right-handed, so my brain thinks, to the right, so I turn it around just so I can have the same perspective. So we're going to do the same thing here. You can kind of see this starting to form. Okay. Now look at that. Perfect. Now we're going to get some good steaks out of this, okay? And we're going to do the same thing to the other one. So we got our meat here. It's going to just go into the chunks of meat for whatever you want to use it for. And then we have our nice steaks here. So today is the Big Bertha's day to shine. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. The last one's kind of thin like the last time. So maybe I'll go... Alright, so I think we'll go a little thicker on these. 1, 2, 3. If I make 3 cuts, that'll give me 4 nice steaks. So we'll just start right there. Remember what I talked to you about, let that fall away. Don't, lift your knife and look. You can look, make sure you don't yank on that. Now this is a little bit sturdier meat. You can see it's solid, just a little bit of marbleization in there. So this will hold together better than the chuck roll, but square it back up. But you don't want to pull apart your meat like that. It just damages it. It doesn't make it look very pretty. So you can see these are good, like almost inch steaks. There, okay? And that one's probably going to be in the middle. But that's what I was saying. Just eyeball it the best you can. Look down the back of your knife. Straighten it up. And then when you're going to turn your head to saw, because you want to stay steady, but you also have to keep that knife straight, okay? So... the last one's a little thinner, which I knew it was going to be. I said it before. So it's fine. You got 3 awesome, like 1-inch steaks out of it, and a half inch. About a half inch. And I'm just eyeballing. Like I said, you want to take a tape measure to it because you're a narcissist like that, go ahead. I'm just showing you I got 4 awesome steaks. I'm going to set these aside. This would be another good breakfast steak or a small dinner steak if you're not that hungry. Whatever you want. And then same with this guy here. We're going to just... you can see this one's a little funky. It's not very straight there. This side's rounded. So if I want, I can just trim a little bit. A little bit off of here. Just to square that up. Just off the ends it looks like. So I can put that aside. Alright, so we straighten up that side. I'm going to flip this around. Of course, like I said, so I'm right-handed or right-minded. So we're going to just cut off this bulbous piece here. Square that bad boy up. See there? Just stick your knife back down there and see that's some fat down there. It's holding it. Look at that. Nice. So we're going to turn this again to the right. And we're going to go to the narrow edge. That way we can optimize on the steaks. I don't want to... okay. You can see now we look like a big old rectangle, square, whatever. Made it square meat. It's so square. He's so square, he's boring. This ain't going to be boring though, folks, I promise you. It's going to be like a party in your mouth. Alright, look at that. Okay. Got this nice piece of rectangular meat here. It's going to be beautiful little square steaks. They might show up like Poindexter at the party with their glasses and suspenders, but I promise you it will not be boring. So I'm just kind of pre-marking these. If you want to do that, you can. This first one looks pretty good. It's a little narrow. So this is just another trick. You do whatever you want. It makes you feel good, like the steak will when you eat it in your belly. I'm thinking that's probably pretty close. We'll just go with the flow. I mean, it's still meat. Eat it. Okay. Alright. That one, that was messed up. I don't like it. It kind of got crooked. That's okay. I don't care. I'm still going to eat it. Part of the reason it's doing that is because you see this layer we didn't remove? It's separate. That's okay. And as you can see, my knife's completely straight. It's the bottom of the steak that's not. This is kind of just a little tiny petite steak at the end there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got 6 out of that. Set those aside. So it wasn't a matter of the knife blade, it was just a matter of the bottom of the steak was thinner in certain areas. And there's no really squaring that up, it's just what it is. So we're going to cut these into chunks. And we're going to leave until we weigh everything I'll put all the chunks together. But right now, I'm just gonna put them in 2 separate piles so we can weigh out. Because I always check. You should, and you guys should, weigh out these steaks and make sure that they're close to actual weight. You know, when they go in the back at Sam's Club and they grab you one, they're putting the labels on. So, you know, I also was not sure until I saw them when she brought them home if it was even the right steak, because there's no label on it, and it's just Cryovac, and they just say, yep, that's the one. And I'm going, well, it's way too light. There's not enough fat on it, blah, blah, blah. So, regardless, people are only human beings. They make mistakes. So what I suggest you do the same. The scale you saw me use last time, I'm going to use this time. It's almost perfect, but it's not. Unless you have a very high-end scale and it's been certified, it's not going to be exact. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is just make sure it's darn close. Otherwise, you got to beef with the butcher. Because the biggest thing is their scales are supposed to be certified by law. And they're also in a Cryovac bag, so don't be like, hey, I got 6.56 pounds, and this is only 6.3. Well, you got to figure for the juice, the blood that's in there, the myoglobin, and the actual container, the Cryovac. That's going to determine some of the weight too, so as long as it's close. Okay, so there's your pile, all cut up, ready to go. We're going to set that aside here, and we'll lay out the steaks. So this is the ones I just cut. Okay, we got those. So let's lean those up on there. Okay, so 6 of those. And this is just cutting the big one in the steaks and some chunks squaring them up. 3. Move this up a little bit. So, there you go. We got a total of 10 steaks, and it looks probably about a pound, pound and a half ish, maybe a little more. It's denser steak, so it might be a little more. Out of that last one, almost 7 pounds of meat here. So when we weigh them up, we'll do the math on our calculator and figure it all out. So that's that one there, and we will set all this aside again right now, and then I'm going to go ahead and weigh it all out, and then we'll get them all sealed up in baggies and do all that, and we'll show the final product when it comes time. Okay, this is the mock picanha, or maybe it's just so heavily trimmed it's hard to tell. 2.5 pounds. So 2 pounds, 5 ounces. Actually, that's under 2.5 pounds. It would be 2.8 to be exact. 16 ounces in a pound. So just under. Okay, these are 4 petite steaks. They come in at 1 pound, 1 ounce. And so just over a pound. And again, I'm doing the first one that we cut up. So this is all the first one. Okay, so it's 1.13. So 1 pound, 13 ounces on this one. This is just the cut up meat, whatever you're going to use it for. Ground meat, whatever. So it's 1 pound, 13 ounces. So almost 2 pounds. Okay, these are our steaks from the second one. We got basically, just call it 2 pounds, 9 ounces of meat from those steaks. So 2 pounds, 9 ounces. So that's basically 2.5 pounds, just over. Okay, these are the petite steaks from the second one. So those came out to 2.4 ounces total. Okay, so these are our trimmings that we're going to use for ground beef or whatever, stew, whatever, but it's high quality meat. This is we'll just say 1.13, so 1 pound and 13 ounces. So almost 2 pounds. So I was close on both when I said 1.5, possibly 2 pounds. All right, so here's the first one, the mock picanha, and then we got the petite steaks and the chunk meat, and we're selling the other ones up right now. We'll have those over here in just a second. And then here's the second one. We did the steak, almost it's basically 2.5 pounds, and then the petite steaks 2.4 pounds. And finally the meat at almost 2 pounds of cut up chunk meat for whatever you want to use for. So all in all, here's the first one. And here's the second one. Alright, so here you go. That's the two of them right there. Now, mind you, if we had the whole thing, we'd have double the meat. Alright, so after adding up the smaller one, we ended up having just under 5 pounds, which it turned out it was just over 5 pounds. We lost almost a pound in wrapper and blood. And after you cook it or before, you can call it myoglobin. When people say, oh, that's rare and it's bloody, it's actually not. So another lesson for you, it's called myoglobin. When it's cooked, you give somebody that fact. You're not eating blood. So this bigger one over here ended up being... So this one we had a lot less loss. This one was just under 6.5 pounds all packaged up. And that was, well, before it was packaged, when it was cut. So packaging will add some weight back. But anyhow, it was almost 7 pounds prior. So, and the reality is we lost very little on this one. So that's why I said you have to watch it. I question that smaller one on weight now. But the larger one, we're good. So, without further ado, I will, when I make the video, add the pictures at the end of the labels, what to look for, what you don't want, what you do want, and go from there. So thanks for watching my video. Appreciate it. Okay, so as promised, here they are. Under 6 pounds. Right? Under 7 pounds. And I'm going to show you the side view in a minute. There's the side by side. These should be 12 to 18 pounds. See how thin that is? Should be double thick. Same with this one. Double thick, even though it's a little bigger. And there they are side by side. Good luck.